everyone, and welcome back to another industry report. Why are we doing this? Because Diablo Immortal is obviously a game that we all care deeply about, and the news is that there actually has been some developments and quite a lot of strategy coming from Activision-Blizzard. You see, they held their most recent quarterly earnings call last week, and amidst all of their record-breaking numbers, Dennis Durkin, the CFO, made some very interesting comments about mobile gaming and Activision. His comments rounded off discussions on Diablo Immortal, so we've got that, we've got a bit of an update on its development, and expanded thoughts on what Activision actually want to be doing with mobile. Of course, Call of Duty Mobile's immense success has probably gone to their heads, and they probably now want to just make sure that everything, well, can be mobile that possibly could be, which, and we're going to get into those COD Mobile numbers, you kind of can't blame them, because they are a little bit insane. Of course, the thing that we are trying to do on this channel is, game industry news and analysis, and a part of that is subscribing to the channel. Most of the people who watch it actually are not subscribed, and we pretty much do videos every day. So if you want more of that, hit that sub button, and with that said, let's begin. We'll commence today's video with a hyper-speed catch-up. So, Diablo Immortal, of course, had a disastrous reveal at BlizzCon.
Just was wondering, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
And really, it's one where they should have followed Bethesda's lead, because when Bethesda wanted to do Elder Scrolls Blades, a mobile microtransaction game, the Elder Scrolls world, what do? They released at the same time a quick teaser for the next main Elder Scrolls game on PC, on console. That meant that people knew there was something there, that the company still had a dedication to their core audience. Blizzard, though, didn't do that, and, well, they got in a bit of trouble with their audience.
Is there any plans to make this playable on PC, or is this strictly mobile forever?
We don't have any plans at the moment to do PC.
Now, reportedly, Blizzard were actually taken aback by the backlash and did not expect it. Well, Activision's earnings call highlights the development for Diablo Immortal now, in 2020, 2 years after that, almost 2 years after that, is actually still taking along, and the game is now at the stage where it's due to expand into internal playtesting with a company-wide playtest in the coming weeks. Now, Blizz themselves went into a bit more detail in a separate blog post, and I mean, it was pretty run-of-the-mill. They just said that the team will be collecting feedback every step of the way for every Blizzard employee around the world, and that the feedback will guide their decisions as they iterate on the game before it goes beyond the Blizzard walls. So yeah, I mean, obvious internal testing. Now, the thing that I would like to call up here is how has it taken so long to make this damn game? And there's a very precise reason why I say this. That is that Blizzard generally has learned a bit of a lesson, and Diablo 3 was actually the game that made them learn that lesson, and that lesson is, don't talk about your games too damn early. Now, with Overwatch, and really with big things post Diablo 3, they would make announcements at BlizzCon, and within 1 or 2 years, the game would actually be out there. Now, that would mean, at least from my read of the situation, that Diablo Immortal, it had to have been in a decently good state internally at that 2018 BlizzCon for them to have felt confident enough to announce it. But it does seem to me that perhaps the game was not in a great state, or that perhaps the backlash to the game actually forced them to change things, because this is, I would say, surprisingly late considering what I think the scope of this game will probably be. So yes, it was mentioned at the earnings call, and in a bit we'll go into their earnings call Q&A things about Diablo Immortal, but you should also know, Immortal was actually shown at China Joy with a 3-minute trailer, and that was pretty recently, and it looks like a small screen Diablo 3. It's even got the same classes, and for what it's worth, the game looks fine. It's just D3 on a smaller screen, with controls that probably will be a bit fiddly, but probably will end up working just fine, and it being a bit more simplified. Of course, though, concern for the quality of the end product, I think, was never really the main reason for fan backlash against it. I think that was really directed at Blizzard's whole attitude towards the whole thing when it came to, hey, we've made Diablo on mobile, aren't you happy?
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
You can play on your tablet too.
Yes? It's also on the Switch, you're right.
Which obviously did not work out that well for them. And I would then especially say that's doubly so when we found out that it was a NetEase co-development, and then we saw the state of some of the other Asian action RPGs in terms of monetization and how they actually operate. And this is when we move on to Activision-Blizzard CFO Dennis Durkin's comments on what's been going on. So, when asked whether Call of Duty Mobile's success would impact Immortal at all, he said that COD Mobile could be used as a proof point on how Activision's mobile strategy is moving in the right direction, and that direction is relevant to all of Activision Blizzard's franchises as a means to drive a greater reach, engagement, and player involvement than ever before. Which, kind of thing he would say. But in short, he said that COD Mobile's success had proven that Immortal was actually a good idea, and you might, whether you like this or not, that'll vary, that there's a lot more to come on mobile too. So that does mean that, yes, Activision Blizzard have got many more mobile games planned. Now, you would assume that when he's talking about that in the context of this earnings call, that is going to mean more things for core Activision franchises. Crash, Spyro, there's stuff there that could be done in mobile. Then, of course, with all of the Blizzard properties, we'll get into this in a little bit in this video, but at one point there was a World of Warcraft Pokemon Go in the works. Yes, they almost certainly have a lot more mobile going on than you or I actually know about. So how that ended up happening, at least within Blizzard, is that they had a series of incubation teams that were working on these secret projects. Now, this incubation unit was headed up by, his name escapes my mind, but he was one of the original Blizzard co-founders who then came in sort of back into the company. So it was headed up by him. Now, one of the less secretive projects from that incubation unit was a Warcraft version of Pokemon Go. And if done right, it could be a pretty big money spinner for Blizzard. From what we know, Corey Stockton is still, he's one of the World of Warcraft developers, is still in charge of that unannounced project. But then you've got to wonder what else has been going on, because Blizzard have had mobile job listings over the past whole bunch of years. Now, it is worth noting that numerous mobile projects, we believe, were canned around the same time that the StarCraft Battlefield game was canned. Now, the story of that is, and I'll do this super quickly, BlizzCon 2018 was a bit of a disaster, it seemed. It seemed that the larger announcements for PC and console that they would have wanted to make just weren't ready. So, I've forgotten his name, the Diablo Immortal man, per him, he got wheeled out, and he had that impossible task. Now, from what we understand, a lot of that's because they didn't have things like D4 ready. What that led to was a Battlefield-esque game set in the StarCraft universe that was cancelled. But one of the things that wasn't as widely reported, it was there, it just wasn't the headline-grabbing thing, was that at the same time, a whole bunch of, basically just mobile projects were cancelled at Blizzard as well. And that the whole reason behind that was because they just needed to get more dev resources thrown onto Overwatch 2 and D4, which of course does make a lot of sense. So, it seems like if Blizzard's plan had have went a little bit more perfectly and they hadn't have had development issues like the reboots of D4, that we could have been in a situation now where you would have had D4 on the horizon, Overwatch 2 on the horizon, perhaps a World of Warcraft themed Pokemon Go-like game, and probably a number of other mobile games as well. But we now, of course, know that a few of those mobile projects were killed, but Immortal is still something that is going to be coming out. It's co-development with NetEase. And then now, via Dennis Durkin, we pretty much have confirmation that there is a lot more mobile stuff in the works. And you would assume that does mean Activision and Blizzard. If you were to think that they all just have stars in their eyes about what mobile can do, well, you'd be right and wrong, because yes, mobile can pull out incredible numbers, but they do have pretty damn solid proof of it, and that is Call of Duty Mobile. It has been a massive success. I mean, if you look at the MAUs, monthly active users, of the Blizzard unit of Activision Blizzard, and you compare what they are now to Activision Publishing's, Blizzard just get wiped out. Activision have got so many more MAUs, but if you kick that back 3 or 4 years, it's actually a bit of a different story where, because there's no Warzone and because there's no COD Mobile, Activision's MAUs are nowhere near what they are now, and MAUs are pretty much a core part of the business, so it is understandable why Activision would be so keen in things. And released back in October, COD Mobile had 148 million downloads and nearly $54 million in revenue in its first month alone, and that made it the largest mobile game launch in history. And then according to Sensor Tower, who are an analytics bunch, as of the end of June this year, COD Mobile had topped 250 million downloads. And that's in its first 8 months. That's pretty insane. That's a lot of people. And that beats PUBG Mobile's 236 million and eclipses Fortnite Mobile's 78 million. And it also generated, by the way, 327 million in revenue during that time. That's a pretty impressive figure that Activision-Blizzard attribute to ongoing optimization work, monthly seasonal content, and shelter-in-place tailwinds. At least that's what they said in their financial reports. So the financials also mentioned that the game topped the charts in US app stores and that for each of the 3 seasons in Q2, they generated more net bookings per day than the prior. What does that mean? It means that trend line is going in the right direction for Activision-Blizzard. So yes, they will want more mobile. With that segment that we've just done, I think it's pretty damn clear why they would want to do Diablo Immortal, and that they would want it to be just another juggernaut. But the thing is, they are 2 very different franchises. Now, there are some inherent strengths that Immortal has. I do think that ARPGs just work a bit better on phones, to be honest with you. ARPGs were cracked on phones a long time ago, and at least in the Asian market, they've been large for a long time, and the UI and UX there is pretty well developed. Also, you're looking at your character in the third person. I think that does mean that cosmetics can be super strong. But then, of course, it's an ARPG. What is that? Well, I think it is one of the genres that is the most getting some numbers to make bigger numbers, to kill enemies with more numbers, to get gear with better numbers. But the thing is that on mobile, generally, that's all just slowed down a little bit. It's just a little bit grindy. So then you have to wonder, will they sell power? Will they sell boosts? Those are things that very much are sold in a lot of Asian, I say Asian because it's far larger in that market, and often it's like, NetEase and Tencent, are leading dev in those. But a lot of those, they just have these insane loot systems that, they really do just ask you to pump in money. It's pretty insane. Now, you could speculate that, when you compare these 2 franchises, COD Mobile and Diablo, I think you do see how, as I just said, Diablo has a bunch of ways that it's more directly monetizable than Call of Duty, right? But I think also there are differences in those 2 franchises, especially, I think, in name recognition and core audiences. And I think that's something that's mostly relevant from a Western perspective, though, because I think the Western PC-driven audience of Diablo is probably in a different state and has a different mobile gaming uptake to what goes on in the Asian market, where mobile is far more of a thing. And it's no surprise that, say, the concept of gaming phones is way stronger over there than I believe it is over here anyway. Plus, as we compare the franchises, there's the situation where COD Mobile exists as a part of a very vibrant Call of Duty ecosystem. Warzone has been humongously popular, right? A humongous success. It drove a 8-fold increase in hours played in the Modern Warfare universe, according to Activision themselves. Now, this kind of ecosystem allows for cross-pollination between everything. Even just literally, right? We've seen Warzone's operators and the Gulag head to COD Mobile. We've seen COD Mobile bring back classic maps ahead of the PC console games. If you want to play a match on Tartar firing range, you can do that in COD Mobile. At one point I actually got a controller and I got COD Mobile on my iPad Pro, and then I put that into my 60-inch TV, and it was a very, very bizarre experience. It worked shockingly well, but the whole thing was just a little bit absurd feeling to me. But the thing is, that's Call of Duty, and I think your average Call of Duty gamer is probably skewing a little bit younger. They were probably a bit more... Now, of course, I was playing Call of Duty 2 on the PC. Don't you worry, I was doing it in net cafes. I was being a big gamer back in the day, but I think most of the people who really got into Call of Duty were probably on consoles, right? Probably not the most hardcore of the gaming audience. Now, I think that's probably changed over time, but I would imagine that mobile gaming uptake would be a little bit higher with that sort of core group than perhaps with the older Western Diablo audience who, played Diablo 1 and 2. I'm just not sure if they're really playing that many games on their phone or their iPad. But that said, if I'm wrong, do let me know. That is just a suspicion. But I think, though, it is definitely, I'd say almost a fact, that the Diablo ecosystem is not as strong as the Call of Duty ecosystem. And while there is literal cross-pollination between the Call of Duty games in terms of content and concepts, also, it's players. It is time spent on brand. You can play Warzone, and then you can play Call of Duty Mobile in your break at work. That's something that I think is not really as robust with Diablo. Plus, Call of Duty is on this massive uptick in its, just in its general sort of trendiness after Modern Warfare. And Diablo, I think, suffice to say, is not in that position. Blizzard yielded ground to competitors. I think they did that for purely stupid reasons. What happened? They basically fixed the core of Diablo 3 with Reaper of Souls, and then, I know a lot of people love to, and Mike Morhaime does seem like a nice guy in loads of ways, but him and his management team did, axe future Diablo 3 expansions in favor of starting off fresh with Diablo 4. And I think in making that key strategic mistake, that just opened the way for Path of Exile and just other stuff to come in and take their space. And I think that's the sort of thing that just would really hurt Diablo Immortal as it would actually try to come into the market. I kind of say that more though from a core PC gamer Western perspective. So yes, I think it's hard to see some of these growth factors applying to Immortal, but I suppose I definitely can see it do super well in the Asian market because of just how those markets developed in different ways and how mobile is really bloody large over there. So overall, I think you see this as a part of their strategy to just deepen engagement with their IPs. That's literally what Dennis Durkin said, and that they want to make these authentic and deep experiences on, that's his words again, on new platforms. Now, I think for Call of Duty Mobile, yeah, it is a shockingly authentic Call of Duty experience, and I do feel like Diablo Immortal could be that for Diablo. It's just if the monetization is good, and I think that's going to be the major worry. But overall, if the plan works, it will massively increase the time spent on the brand, and that is a big win and a part of the feedback loop that I think has really helped Call of Duty do so well. Now, of course, Immortal's being developed by NetEase, and, the mobile gaming market is enormous in Asia, and they've already made successful ARPGs on mobile that have done super well in the Asian market before. Okay, very bad cash shops, that is another thing, but it does make you wonder, will that kind of game actually do well in the West? I mean, how much of it is brand? I know that Gameloft have been pumping out a franchise of action RPGs that have looked shockingly competent for a long time in mobile, but I just don't know how much they've caught on. So, could that Diablo name actually exploded onto the scene? I think if any name in ARPGs is to do that, it's obviously the Diablo one. So to close it off, mobile is absolutely bloody massive. Activision Publishing, look at their MAUs for an average of 5 years ago and look at them now. And it's free to play with Warzone and mobile that has done that to that number. They obviously want that to continue and happen to Blizzard. But the thing is though, mobile gaming is pretty damn hard to break into. I mean, you can have the name, you can have the brand, and you can still mess it up a bit. Take Nintendo, for instance. It was recently suggested that they would be stepping away from mobile gaming a little bit after just a bunch of disappointing financial results. I mean, there was that Dr. Mario game. What was going on there? Pokemon Masters, I don't really know how well it did, but Mario Kart Tour was one that was huge when it released and then just lacked the depth and the nuance of its console counterparts and ended up suffering in core and casual engagement, and that led to, part of that is the microtransactions weren't great, there was a lack of impactful new content, but it really did struggle there for Nintendo. So the thing is, Immortal, the question is, can it actually be a faithful adaptation that will actually work well and not be, evil in how its microtransactions are done? I'd say I would normally have faith in Blizzard. I don't know how much faith I have in NetEase to do it, but certainly Call of Duty Mobile does prove that this thing can work extremely well, and as much as that might be distasteful to us, we do have to, just kind of grow up and see what's actually going on in the market. And I think if you see that success of Call of Duty Mobile, and you're a bean counter, right? You're at the top of a company like that, you're making financial decisions, you're steering that ship, you are obviously going to try to chase that Call of Duty Mobile money. It is just too damn good to pass up. I think the key thing here is really a lesson in optics and a lesson in framing. Look how Bethesda were able to do Elder Scrolls Blades and basically get away with it with, their initial announcement. Look how Path of Exile was able to do it with its mobile version announcement, right? That's a far more direct thing, and their mobile announcement also was just routinely taking the piss out of Blizzard for Diablo Immortal anyway. So if there's anything to learn from this, it is that I think action RPGs and mobile can be shockingly good. You've got a situation where there's Path of Exile mobile that's going to be a thing. There's going to be Diablo Immortal as a thing. They're both probably going to be really good games. My sort of learning from this would be, though, look how differently people actually perceive the two of them and the two companies behind them. I think it is an interesting situation, especially when there are, of course, big ties back to Tencent/NetEase in both of those situations. So a big lesson in optics for us all to think about. And as for Immortal, look, I'll probably play it because it's actually newsworthy and relevant to what I'm doing for work. And yeah, I'll let you know what it's actually like when it finally does come out. Not that it's anything that I'm particularly excited for or waiting for. So there you go. That is a bit of a recap of what's going on with Diablo Immortal, as well as just a bit of a discussion about how Activision-Blizzard are actually trying to craft their mobile strategy. It's really funny. We live in a timeline now where, because D4 and Overwatch 2 were seemingly so behind schedule, Blizzard actually had to kill a StarCraft game and then axe like seemingly a whole bunch of their mobile ambitions. So who knows? I would just love to know what it would look like right now in terms of their slate if those mobile projects in the incubator group were not cancelled. But hey, we'll never know. That's it for me. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.